I'm Ian Kernow. I'm one of the directors at Connect Cornwall. So Connect Cornwall was set up to connect people from any sort of deprived backgrounds or have got other issues that have caused them to, at that moment in time, to be either on the wrong side of the law or down on their luck or whatever else, homeless, etc., etc. So we're picking those individuals up and trying to connect them with agencies and other support that's actually going to take them forward. Myself and my colleague, who are both retired police officers, so I've done 30 odd years in the police and other things, and during that time, whilst I was in the police, last 10 years or so of my service I spent working with prolific offenders in a multi-agency settings, and it wasn't until I sat down with a lad who tried to kill me and I listened to his story about his past and his abuse and his drug addiction and his complete hopelessness of life, and I just thought, actually, if I was sat on his side of the table and had his story, would I be sat where I am today? From there on in, really looking at why people do what they do as opposed to dealing with the consequences of what they do, which is what the police do. When you're arresting people and things like that, you're dealing with the consequences of the crime. You're not actually looking at what drives this person to go out and burgle people's houses, to what drives this person to take 250, 300 pounds worth of heroin every day. Our driving force as a company really is to engage with those individuals, is the first part. The second part of it really, and I'm passionate about this, is giving professionals enough time to spend with the individuals so that they can actually make a difference. To be able to do that, we need to be able to affect policy change in the future. We need to be able to affect how this sector works within that environment. The public sector is demising, it's getting smaller, a lot of it's kicking and screaming, but you will get a police force in a little while that only, it becomes like the fire brigade, only reacts to the incident and doesn't actually do any of the neighbourhood and the background stuff that it did in the past. I sat in this lad's front room in the east of the county, a 34-year-old bloke, done time for murder, never been in employment in his life, actually never had any education in his life. Tragic story, but actually spending 3 or 4 hours with him like I have now, he's well on the way to getting a job. And it was quite simple, really. Understanding and knowing the issues are really helpful because you can start to direct. If there was a little bit more trust through commissioning that went on and we were able to influence how things were commissioned and worked with, then we would be able to move stuff forward. So one of the key issues for Cornwall is that we haven't got a prison. Now most people would go, oh, we don't need a prison. But actually, it's 100 miles to Exeter, and the issues of, there's probably 3,000 to 3,500 Cornish people that end up in prison that come back to Cornwall every year. How do we join the gap? How do we reduce that likelihood of reoffending? There is a complete disunity between what goes on in prison and what goes on in the community. It's about preparing not only the ex-offender for ready so that they're the actual employee you want to employ, but it's also about preparing the employer for what they're getting.